There are not many inquiries that grasp our interest as eagerly as the account of us. Our human advancement, our species, even our tree of life. How could we become? For what reason would we say we are how we are? Also, how would we create and change after some time? In a repetitive dream, I see myself strolling down the paths of a grandiose library, running my hand over the books, chronicling the historical backdrop of the whole universe. In the end, I coincidentally find the book of us settled away in some failed-to-remember dusty corner where barely any guests come. The principal part portrays our planetary group's introduction to the world, the arrangement of the Earth, the crash that produced the moon, the cooling of our planet, and the development of life. Flicking ahead by just sections, I at last run over humankind. Assuming every part addressed 100 million years, we wouldn't turn up until section 45. From humble starting points of microorganisms and refuse, our bipedal tribute predecessors cooperated to chase major game, foster instruments and language to help their endurance, and later develop agribusiness. Civilizations rise and fall, create science, writing, workmanship, and war. Lastly, the story contacts us. Presently here. I'd been looking for this. Only another page to turn. Be that as it may, as I pull the paper across, the fantasy closes. Each fantasy feels so close, yet the response generally get away. So baffling that we are in no way, shape, or form toward the finish of the story. In the event that mankind shows up in part 45, there ought to be another 9 or 10 sections still in front of us. 1 billion years, plus or minus, addresses the ongoing logical gauge for the leftover time that Earth can uphold complex life, like ourselves. From that point forward, the sun's developing iridescence will set off a natural breakdown on a scale previously unheard of, as examined in one of our past recordings. In any case, simply contemplate that briefly. 1 billion years left at work. Contrasted with our living souls, it's an unfathomably huge time span. A gigantic pit of incalculable minutes, an eerie spread that loosens up outside customary ability to comprehend. A scale so tremendous that inside it, mountains will disintegrate, stars will bite the dust, and universes impact. But the universe pulls a brutal prank on our interest, for the unidirectional idea of time implies that we are permitted to advance essentially pieces of the story that has unfolded so far, yet we are completely illegal from knowing anything that lies ahead. What befalls our delicate endeavor at human progress? How far do we go? How does the story end? We frequently contemplate mankind's set of experiences with regards to hundreds of years, relic maybe, regarding centuries, and development concerning a long period of time. Yet, 1 billion years? It's smaller people them all. Take the Neolithic upset. That is the starting points of horticulture and creature training. Regardless of whether some way or another our civilization was gotten once again to that point in some horrendous reset, that was only a long time back. In 1 billion years, they have sufficient opportunity to rehash the whole history of all civic establishments one more multiple times over. North of 1 billion years, we need to discuss development. Organisms and infections can change and develop quickly over merely months, as we, as a whole, know from each influenza season. However, that is on the grounds that their regenerative cycle is such a great deal quicker than of ourselves. The people's hereditary float happens on a significantly longer time scale. Maybe the best information comes from the split among Neanderthals and present-day people. Around 2.5% of European DNA comes from Neanderthals, which plainly demonstrates some interbreeding occurred. The way that this is seen across Europe suggests that sexual relations were genuinely normal, yet the way that Maine, too. 5% of DNA intermixed suggests that it wasn't fruitful 100% of the time. So Neanderthals and current people might have been near the restriction of speciation, inferring a transformative timescale of something like a portion of 1,000,000 years. albeit this is a number bantered by anthropologists. Thus, once more, we are struck by the gigantic scope here. In the billion years in front of us, or 900 million years to be somewhat more moderate, there is plainly adequate time for people to go through emotional developmental changes, possibly fragmenting off into endless quantities of transformative kin. It's truly challenging to verbalize exactly the way that unrecognizable these far-off relatives might be from us. One method for seeing it is to travel once more into the past a billion years. Then we're returning before the dinosaurs, the Cambrian blast, the rise of creatures, and, surprisingly, the development of vegetation. In those days, the planet was overwhelmed by single-cell microscopic organisms and archaea, and that is who our normal precursors would be, assuming we went a billion years into the past. Thus, how incredibly unique might our future relatives at any point be going a billion years into what's in store? Genuinely, we can't make helpful expectations about what these animals would be like. Development simply doesn't work like that, since all fruitful species are a result of transformation to their current circumstance and common contest. What's more, obviously, there's dependably the possibility of an innovative animal types, like ourselves, obstructing this cycle, causing mass terminations, specifically reproducing new species, hereditarily messing with existing life, or in any event, bringing completely new fake life forms into the ecosphere. However, could innovative species try and endure? Maybe humankind addresses a brief and uncommon episode in Earth's set of experiences, where it winds up possessed by such an animal groups. Thinking once again into the past, by far most of Earth's set of experiences is, to be sure, without mechanical human advancements. Thus, maybe as well, that is the destiny representing things to come. But, for our downfalls in general and pointless propensities, humankind has a convincing history of getting by, yet flourishing through worldwide changes and across the planetary surface itself. From one post to another, and desert to mountain ridge, you will track down individuals. We are a versatile species. Our minds us to devise answers for issues utilizing instruments as opposed to hanging tight for another organ or member to develop naturally. What's more, that has forever been our most prominent benefit. Furthermore, it's hard to envision a situation where that endurance edge could at any point be dulled. This ongoing cycle of civilization might fall. To be sure, that appears to be inescapable somewhat, yet the breakdown of society or development is unmistakable from the elimination of our species. You know, we frequently prefer to envision that our prevalent insight makes us a gift to this planet of some sort or another. Yet maybe we're more similar to rodents or cockroaches. We're not a gift, we're an invasion. And maybe an exceptionally obstinate one that will be challenging to at any point completely cancel from the developmental tree. I've talked about this previously, however, these thoughts raise the chance of constant insight. On the off chance that cutting-edge people speciate many times throughout the following couple of million years, our relatives will clearly have a hereditary inclination for insight. Furthermore, on the off chance that knowledge keeps on offering endurance and regenerative benefits, which appears to be very plausible, then insights of some structure or another might just possess our planet for an extremely expanded time frame long after we're gone. Without a doubt, these canny species need not even essentially be our immediate relatives. However, maybe the relatives of whales, dolphins, crows, or ravens prepared to fill the natural specialty that we leave open after we're gone. Obviously, that knowledge may not be organic, as humankind is in the pains of creating man-made brainpower that may before long rival that of our own. This conversation of how insight arises and reappears is obviously applicable to cosmologists who expect to watch out up high and answer the most fundamental of inquiries. Would we say we are separated from everyone else? Knowledge isn't exactly the same thing as innovation, obviously. What's more, as of now, we are aware of numerous clever species that co-possess the Earth with us. So this is maybe where our thoughts of the far-off future become their generally speculative. For despite the fact that we are aware of various launches of insight among species, we just know about one animal groups, that is us, that proceeded to foster innovation. However, the Silurian speculation drifts that this may not be valid. A petroleum derivative hungry innovative species, like ourselves, ought to have been practical as far back as a long time back, but basically no hint of them would be abandoned. The fast enduring of the world's surface implies that anything passed around quite a while back would be completely lost. A conclusive special case for this, however, would be space foundation, which obviously isn't dependent upon the equivalent enduring. Thus, in the far-off future, our relatives also could battle to recognize any mark of us. Our urban areas, our streets, and our landmarks will have long dissolved into dust. However, the Apollo 11 lunar plummet stage will in any case be on the moon, may be vigorously harmed by ages of miniature shooting stars, yet unquestionably, unmistakably counterfeit. Thus, the way that we see nothing like this on the moon, other than whatever we put there, proposes that we may for sure be the first, all things considered. Essentially, the main spacefaring species. I can't resist the urge to consider what an Earth-based mechanical species 300 million years from now will make of those lunar plummet stages. What their archaeologists will induce from the turned metal store unintelligibly unfastened inside the lunar desert. As large numbers of you know, I attempt to stay rationalist about the subject of life and knowledge known to man. All that we realize about the universe is viable with us being separated from everyone else. But similarly, I'd be excited to find proof in actuality. But, as distinctly, wildly, and deliberately rationalist as I drive myself to be on that inquiry, for objectivity, I should own up to finding it hard to uncertainty the likelihood that a mechanical animal groups could reappear on this planet later on, particularly given its beginning stage of today. However, then again, on the off chance that numerous other mechanical species arise after us, there is a sure occurrence that we end up being the primary in this chain. Cosmologists, particularly, are much of the time more okay with being someplace in the pack by means of the popular average quality guideline. However, expecting, briefly, that this happens, then, at that point, there's a significant result. For regardless of whether that future species were of direct genealogy to us, regardless of whether they were naturally a continuation of our general public, the monstrosity of time that would happen would clearly finish in a progress that was basically strange to us in pretty much every functional feeling of the word. Thus, to speak with outsiders, I figure we can. We simply need to communicate something specific into what's in store, not a message through space, but rather a message through time. Like the lunar drop stages, we could abandon something for them to find. A period container containing data about what our identity is, what we expect them, maybe even a man-made intelligence that they could speak with to find out about our general public. Furthermore, that message could quietly sit tight for 100 million years or more, before at last being found by one, or even numerous innovative relatives. A murmur from an earlier time. The misfortune is that we won't ever see that second for ourselves. Similar to a grandparent who never will meet their grandkids, we might need to acknowledge an unavoidable distance in that relationship. What's more, we as a whole vibe this in our lives as we age. A specific misfortune that we wish to know how our number one group will do in the following 10 years, whether humankind will at any point foster a specific innovation, or what accomplishments our family will achieve after we are no more. Every one of them secretes that we must choose the option to go to the grave with. What's more, similarly, looking across a lot further areas of time, mankind as an animal groups might need to acknowledge a similar destiny. Our Earth is a terrific earthly desert garden of life, inside a distinct and unforgiving universe. Its story might be one of numerous such universes, or maybe extraordinarily interesting. Anyway, our part in this plant's set of experiences is now significant. Also, at section 45, we can't resist the urge to consider what those 9 or 10 leftover parts could hold. Maybe in animal categories will bloom across the stars, or perhaps the beginning of simulated intelligence addresses the end of interest on this world. Or on the other hand, maybe we are ill-fated to a pattern of human progress rise and fall until the earth bites the dust. Or on the other hand, perhaps we are the solitary launch of innovative life that this planet will at any point see. This isn't one of those recordings where I can take care of you the responses, just the inquiries. Yet what questions they are. Inquiries to fuel our creative mind and our goals, and maybe even impact how we decide to manage the time that we have left. So until sometime later, remain insightful and remain inquisitive. Electronic music.